All right, good afternoon. We're so happy you're here for episode 7 of Machine Success. Clint and I are so excited. This was one of the interviews we talked about early in the process as, just a program that's trailblazing, and Matt is just fantastic. So today we're going to talk with Matt Janisin. He's the Vice President for Business and Workforce Solutions at Gateway Technical College in Wisconsin. Matt oversees outreach, not just to business and industry, but also apprenticeships, customized contract training, Fab Lab student support and community outreach, the business partnerships, specialized collaborative training initiatives, including a project with the Department of Corrections, local workforce agencies, and private donors. I feel like I need an app after all of that. Matt is a former teacher, he's a textbook author, and he is so passionate and enthusiastic as a leader. And he's been with Gateway Technical College since 2011. So Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me, and thanks for thinking of Gateway and allowing us to share our story.
Perfect. Well, Clint and I have both had the opportunity to tour your state-of-the-art facility, the IMET Center in Sturtevant, right? Sturtevant, Wisconsin?
Yep,
Perfect.
sure. Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the initiatives that you currently have happening there?
Yeah, well, big picture, Gateway was founded in 1911, so we're 111 years old, and obviously there's been a lot of evolution over that time, but we've always tried to be a reflection and kind of adapt to our community's needs. And the IMET Center is really just, the next iteration of that and continues to evolve in itself. So it was originally built in 2001 as an entrepreneurship center. So kind of a small business incubator. And then it's kind of grown and morphed, and we do a lot of engineering. So IMET is the integration of manufacturing and engineering technologies. 2007, engineering came onto the campus, and then we started to do more machining and manufacturing work there. And the last iteration of it here was just in the fall of 2019, where we kind of doubled the size. We added about 35,000 square feet to it, really with a focus on Industry 4.0 and advanced manufacturing. But its history really is in machining. So we do all of our tool and die apprenticeship there, as well as a lot of CNC operator training that I know we're going to talk about in a little bit. So that's really kind of the focus of the IMET Center, bringing all of that together with kind of the Fab Lab at the center that does a lot of our prototyping for our engineers and also some outreach.
Yeah, that's awesome, Matt. I was there for the re-grand opening. Beautiful, beautiful facility. I've had a chance to work with many of your instructors too on Mastercam training. You have an awesome team there, so it's just everything is so nice there. And I'm not telling you anything new here, but one of the biggest issues for U.S. manufacturing companies is filling the need for skilled workers. A great program you have been running, to address this over the last decade is your 14-week, CNC boot camp. Yeah. It was designed for dislocated, underemployed workers. And after completing the program, I was looking at a report that showed that there's over 40 companies that are interested in hiring students who have completed this program. Can you tell us why this has been so successful for you guys?
Yeah, so the IMET Center is officially the SC Johnson IMET Center, and SC Johnson, the family company that we're all familiar with Windex and Glade and other products like that. They're literally within eyesight of the IMET Center, and they were a big partner in that. But it originally started with some workforce partners, and I think the main reason that it's been so successful over a long period of time is really the partnerships that we've had with business and industry, as well as our local governmental agencies that have all come together in the good of citizens looking for work and employers that are really needing that skilled talent. So in that regard, right after the Great Recession, there was, it's hard to think of it now, but actually a labor surplus, right? There was a lot of people laid off looking for work. In our area, Southeast Wisconsin as a whole, there is a lot of CNC, computer numerical control machining. And we were going to try to fill that gap with people that were looking for work. So we partnered with some of our local workforce agencies. They really recruited and acted as case managers for the folks that were in the program. And they was a tuition-free type of situation. And the real important thing was, too, it was quick. So employers needed the workers now. Workers didn't want to be out of work for any longer than they had to be. So we really, worked with business and industry. What do you need exactly to get someone on the floor and productive, knowing that there are going to be some on-the-job training, advanced training in the future, but what do you need to get them started? And when we went through that and looked at the competencies that they really required, it really came down to we really did a 12-week program. And the other part was we ran it like a job. So it was 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. The expectations were the same. So it wasn't just the technical training, because we heard loud and clear from our local business and industry. They also wanted those soft skills or employability skills. So being late was going to have consequences. And if you were late 3 times, you were often excused from the program. But that didn't equate to 3 days. If you were late in the morning, late back from first break, and late from lunch, there's your 3. So, I mean, you could literally be gone in half a day. So just setting those expectations, both employability wise, but also giving them a great educational experience on the technical skills, using a lot of Haas equipment. It's another great partner of ours. And we're just getting ready to name the Gene Haas Innovation Alley, which is in the High Bay area of our IMET Center. So all of those partnerships, really came together. And as the workforce money kind of shifted back in 2013-ish, that's when SC Johnson stepped in and really started to continue this program and fund it. And not that they were in need of CNC machinists, but they really were doing this for the greater good of the Racine community and Southeast Wisconsin as a whole. And we just kind of continued those partnerships over time. So, that 12-week program has really had an impact for a long period of time, almost over a decade now. And it has continued to evolve also. And we'll talk a little bit about our Department of Corrections, and that's kind of the next evolution of what the boot camps originally were.
Perfect. And that's what I love, Matt, is that you've taken that core basic program that was driven by industry, and you've really adapted that to train different audiences of people, one of which is a largely untapped pool of individuals collaborating with the Department of Corrections in Wisconsin. So you're offering excellent training, second chance opportunities as inmates re-enter their communities. I know that there's stats out there, and I don't have them at my fingertips, that when you invest in training for inmates, you reduce recidivism rates drastically, meaning that they won't be going back to prison. Can you tell us a little bit about the DOC program, how that works, and how you're doing that both on campus and off campus?
Yeah, so when you give someone a purpose, right, both a purpose, but then the ability to really support themselves and their families, you give them all the opportunity to not to have to go back and do, things that they regret and wish they wouldn't have. So, we often think of it as kind of a second chance, but depending on the situation, honestly, it might have been this person's first chance, really. So we really took that to heart. And again, we had this model of the boot camp that was, originally 12 weeks, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. For Department of Corrections, that not necessarily the perfect mix and match. So it's now about 4 to 5 hours a day, typically 5 days a week. So it's a little longer in the calendar, but it works out with their transportation and everything else. And again, getting them started. We also wanted to make sure that we didn't set anybody up for, not a successful endeavor. No promises were going to be left, unkept. So we really worked with our employers, as Clint mentioned. We had 40 plus employers over the many years of the boot camp that were still looking for CNC operators. No matter how many we could produce out of these special cohorts, no matter how many were coming out of our academic programs through the college program itself, they still needed more. So here is this untapped pool. Would they be willing to work with somebody that's been justice involved? And, the clear answer that we got was yes. And this was well before the pandemic. And now with the labor situation it is, they are very, very interested, and more are getting interested in that. So, originally we were working with the Racine Correctional Institute, RCI. It's more of a medium security prison system, and we were working inside that facility. So we have a lab in there, and our instructor goes inside to train our CNC operator. We also paralleled this program after our technical diploma. So our technical diploma is 2 to 3 semesters, depending on how far you want to get in the advanced programming. But that first semester is CNC operator. And we, on the customized side, teach it for credit, just as you would when you were going through the regular academic programs at Gateway. So it gives the students kind of 2 pathways. They can go through this program, and upon release, they can either go directly out into industry and get a job, which is often the case they do, but they are seamlessly set up to come back to Gateway and actually continue their education and fulfill a complete technical diploma if they want. So it started with RCI. The next group we started working with was Ellsworth Correctional Facility. So that's a minimum security women's facility. So now getting more women involved in manufacturing, and they were able to come on campus to IMET. And again, they do 4 or 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. And that has been very, very, very successful. We have found that many of these ladies have great skills when it comes to machining. Their attention to detail is exquisite. It's exactly what our employers are looking for.
Yep.
And we've had so much great feedback from employers that have hired these women and other folks that go into their facilities. The other key thing about the boot camp and this that was really important was doing mock interviews. So built into the class towards the end, we invite these employers in, and they agree to interview all of the students and provide that feedback, because for many students, this was the first time they've done an interview in a long time. So getting that feedback of just how you're carrying yourself in an interview and the things to talk about has really helped. Quickly, these mock interviews have really become first round interviews that often lead to jobs very, very quickly. But it does still build up that confidence level and get them to be a better interview as we've been going also. That's now gone to the Kenosha County Correctional Facility. So we're doing more and more with them in the area of CNC. We did a little bit in there with mechanical maintenance technician, but CNC is in such demand that we've kind of flipped to that and started doing that work too. So, we do other programs too. We do have a mechatronics program with the Racine Youthful Offenders Facility, so RIOC. So that's another one that, again, with automation, robotics, getting more and more in manufacturing, maintenance techs that can fix that are so important. That's our latest one. We just started last year.
It's amazing. And I was actually there in a room with you watching some of the ladies that were going through the training and learning and actually running the Haas machines there. It was spectacular. And now I want to ask you to blow people's minds a little bit, because one of the common things that Clint and I hear is recruiting issues. Can you give us a ballpark on, with all of your programming you have, approximately how many people are coming through your program for CNC operator training in a year?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you take the college as a whole, I mean, our Department of Corrections alone, we do about 100 a year. I think we ended up with 92 last year, and that was still a little bit of pandemic hangover. And even in our RIOC facility, the first year we had 34 graduates for mechatronics, and we're hoping for 50 to 60 as now that gets up and running more fully in its second year. But if you add our traditional academic programs with everything else that we're doing, I mean, you're multiple hundreds of students a year at somewhere on their journey going through this, and with the end goal of being a CNC technician operator.
Absolutely amazing.
It is amazing. One thing I think is really cool, you're solving multiple problems, right? So you're solving a workforce problem. You're providing, as you said, first and second chance opportunities for people who really could use some help. And then you're also increasing diversity in manufacturing by adding more women into manufacturing. So I mean, it's like multiple layers. I think it's so impressive. And looking at some of the statistics online, you guys are obviously very engaged in the high school level. You have a robust dual credit program. You have students earning stackable credentials at the high school level. You have several events and opportunities such as National Signing Day, Dual Credit Day. You offer foundation scholarships, and then you also have the Gateway Promise program. And can you tell us, what is the importance of reaching these students at the?
Yeah, well, we know that the workforce is going to need so many workers in the future, and we know that demographics are not in our favor. So we want to make sure that we get ahead of that, and get our unfair share of our K-12 population to be familiar with what a 2-year technical and community college can really offer. So in that regard, we do a variety of things, and you mentioned a bunch of them that we try to reduce the cost of coming to college. So we have last year, I think we had over 8,000, so about 8,300 students taking, dual credit opportunities at Gateway in a variety of ways. One of the main ways is transcripted credit. So in the state of Wisconsin, we have a partnership with the technical college system and our local school districts, where we can train their instructor and certify them to our standards to teach a certain number of classes in our programs. And the student doesn't have to leave the high school. So it's very convenient in that regard. They get 2 transcripts. That's why it's called transcripted credit, one at the high school, one at the college, but it's taught at the high school by the high school teacher with using our curriculum and our supervision and our training to make sure that the instructor is holding to the technical college standards. So that's free to the student, and there's essentially free to the high school also. So there's very few barriers to that, and it gets students a great heads up in going towards their technical diploma, associate degree. You know, when we give this information out to our local superintendents, we share with them about how much tuition money they save their local parents and taxpayers. And, you know, all together between the 3 counties that Gateway serves, it's over $3 million a year that students are earning in college credit that they don't have to, you know, make up. Because again, on paper, you're not going to be able to tell whether they were at Gateway or at the high school. It is an official Gateway class. So that's the primary way. We do have other ways too. So we do contract classes or academy classes. These can either be done on campus or again off-site in the high school. So one example is welding. So we have a group of students that'll come from multiple high schools to campus. They'll do our welding and fabrication technical diploma and earn that as they go through their high school career. But we also at times send a welding instructor out to the high school if they have the facility, and we will teach it on site there. So that way those students will actually end up getting their college degree diploma before their high school diploma, just because our semester ends a little bit earlier than the high school one. So we beat them on the calendar. So they will have their college credential before they walk their high school stage typically. So that part works out really well too. But we didn't want to just stop at the high school either. So we know we have to get back and have students think about technical college, careers, just STEM-related careers that might interest them. So we do have a K-8 program where we go out to elementary schools and middle schools and start to provide resources to those teachers and co-teach with them to provide kind of a STEM-related activity and just experience for those students. So mainly that's done through our Fab Lab. The Fab Lab will go out. It's a great partnership with Festo. So we have our Mech Lab kits. That's kind of a little automated factory kit where students get to learn some programming both through PLC, some basic pneumatics, electrical control, sensors, how to create motion and control that. So it's using both computers and laptops and programming, but also physically kind of building and putting a system together. So that's geared towards middle school. So we're doing a lot of that out in our middle schools. But then in our elementary schools, we leverage a kids lab kit where we go out and basically just have fun, but getting them to think and design, and also to make sure that the elementary and middle school teachers who probably don't have a lot of connection with community or technical colleges view us as a resource. So we can go out and help them do this, and then they in turn kind of understand more of what we're about. So if there is any stereotype about what a 2-year community or technical college does, we're trying to break down those barriers and make sure that they fully understand it. And then we go out to the private schools, homeschooling groups. We invite them on campus so they have opportunities to use the equipment, partner with public libraries to do STEM-related activities, 4-H, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We do outreach all around there. And primarily it's a lot around 3D printing, laser engraving, tabletop CNC work, robotics. The neat thing is it's really all just manipulating XYZ axes. So in that case, when those students learn how to move in that space, they really get kind of excited and primed and prepped for whatever direction they may choose in the years to come.
Y'all are so dialed in. I mean, Clint, we're both just like sitting here like this the entire time.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
The one thing I want to say is if you've never connected with Matt, if you've never been onto IMET, like please do it, because it can really, and you don't have to do all this programming at one time. You can take a little bite-sized piece. And I would say the cornerstone is, based on the meeting that I had yesterday with a college and that I had with an adult training center earlier this week, develop your CNC operator bootcamp program based on employer needs in your region, and then you can really start to grow and develop it from there. But now we get to move into the fun part, which is the rapid fire questions. So Matt, if you could spend a day in someone else's shoes, who would it be?
Oh, geez. I would say probably the CEO of Snap-on.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
Great partner of ours, very cool company, awesome history. It would be neat to see that company from his perspective and level.
Let's see. I don't know how big of a sports fan you are, Matt, but what's the best sport to watch live in your opinion?
For me, football. Football. Big football fan. Obviously, Wisconsin. Badgers and Packers. So yeah, try to get to at least a few games a year.
Nice. What is the first career you ever dreamed of having when you were a kid?
Actually, plumber. My uncle was a plumber. I did a lot of work on that. I almost became a plumber, so that was close. But I ended up being a technology high school teacher instead, and actually ended up teaching home maintenance. So all that knowledge kind of came back around. But plumbing was actually my first real key interest.
Nice. What are you most proud of professionally?
I think the work that I got to do through industry partnerships. So, I've really had a great opportunity at Gateway to, again, work with companies like Snap-on and Train and Festo and Starrett and a whole bunch of others, 3M, Kubota, and build out all these programs through a lot of our different campuses. That's been very rewarding. And, it's allowed us to not just help schools across the U.S. kind of replicate and upgrade their career and technical education programs. But we actually got to do a Snap-on Diagnostic Center in Morocco. So in that case, we actually got to go international and help people build their workforce too that they need as new technologies are emerging, not just here, but across the world.
That's pretty darn impressive. And then the last question is, what's the best piece of career advice you've ever received?
Pretty much to keep your mind open. You never know where your career is going to go. There's no way I would have ever thought of being a vice president at a technical college. I went to school to be a high school shop teacher, and I was happy doing that. And that's what I was going to do for 30, 35 years and retire. But things change. And so to always keep your mind open and, never say no. If an opportunity presents itself, follow it through and see where it may take you.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for your students too, because where you start is not always where you finish. So I think keeping that open mind and understanding, each step you take is just a step towards what you want to become. So I think that's really good. And, thank you so much for the time today, Matt. If anyone wants to find out more about Gateway, what's the best place to find them?
Yeah, website, gtc.edu. You can find my contact information there too. So yeah, feel free to reach out. We do host a lot of tours. We're an open book. We'll share anything and help wherever we can. So, I appreciate both of you giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of our story and what we're doing. And if there's anything that we can do to help another school or organization that's interested, we would be grateful to do that.
One of a kind. Thank you so much, Matt. Just again, mind blown. The impact that you're having is based on the innovation and the team that you have there, and having toured the facility and seen the Fab Lab and went through the K-Tech program with the K-8 programming and seeing some of the things you're doing. There's a reason you're the best program in the country right now. So really, really, thank you so much for being here with us.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.